The brown envelope remained on my desk, untouched since Robert's funeral. 3 months of dust. 3 months of silence. The phone rings. My wrinkled hands tremble as I answer. My daughter's voice. Cold. Professional. Unrecognizable. "Mom, I sold the beach house. And your car. The money will help us move to Europe." Jake found an opportunity there. No questions. No permission. Just information. Delivered like a business transaction. Silence hovers between us. In that silence, a lifetime of memories collapses around me. The beach house where Robert proposed to me, where we raised our daughter, Emily, where we celebrated birthdays, anniversaries, graduations, all lost, sold by the very daughter to whom we gave everything. "Mom, are you there? Did you hear what I said?" Emily's voice, irritated now, as if I were the inconvenience, as if 71 years of life, of motherhood, of sacrifice meant nothing. I heard 3 words. That's all I can muster, as my eyes turn to the brown envelope. Robert's last gift. His final lesson. The line goes silent. Emily hung up. No goodbye. No, I love you. Just the cold click of disconnection. Have you ever felt that? That moment when someone you love cuts you out of their life so casually, as if you were no more than an old receipt to be crumpled and thrown away? I sit alone in my apartment, the one I moved to after selling our family house, our true home, to help Emily and Jake with their first mortgage. The walls close in around me. On the mantel, photos of happier times. Emily's graduation. Emily's wedding. Emily smiling, always taking, never giving back. How many times have you given everything to someone who valued nothing? The brown envelope calls to me. For 3 months, I haven't had the courage to open it. Robert's handwriting on the front. "For when you need it most, my love." And below, in smaller letters, "For when she goes too far." Did he know? Did Robert see something in our daughter that I was blind to? The selfishness, the sense of entitlement, the coldness that grew like a shadow over the years. My hands tremble as I reach for the envelope. The paper is thick, expensive. Inside, documents, property deeds, bank statements, and a letter in Robert's careful handwriting. "My dearest Antonia, if you are reading this, I am gone, and our daughter has finally shown her true colors. I have prepared for this day. Everything is ready. You just need to make one call." I stare at the phone number. My heart races in my chest. Is this what motherhood has come to? Is this what love turns into after a lifetime of giving? The beach house. Our sanctuary. The place where Robert's ashes were spread, as he wished. Sold without permission, without respect, without love. Do you know what it's like to be erased from your own life? To be treated as nothing but an inconvenience by the very person you gave life to? I pick up the phone. I dial the number. A man answers. "Mr. Harrington? This is Antonia Williams. My husband Robert told me to call you." "Yes. Yes. She did exactly what he said she would. The beach house. And the car. Yes. It's time." As I hang up, something shifts inside me. Grief gives way to something different. Something cold, clear, and certain. "Let the lesson begin," I whisper to Robert's photo. "Let our daughter learn what we never taught her." Have you ever reached that breaking point? When enough truly becomes enough? Emily wasn't always like this. I remember a little girl with braids and scraped knees who used to bring me wildflowers. A teenager who would curl up next to me during storms. When did that child disappear? When did she become this stranger who sells her mother's house without permission? Maybe it started with Jake. Handsome, ambitious Jake with his expensive suits and even emptier promises. The man who swept Emily off her feet and took her into a world of status and appearances. The man who never had enough. Not enough money, not enough success, not enough things. The wedding cost a fortune. My and Robert's retirement fund depleted to give our daughter the day she demanded. "It's just money," Robert had said. "She's our only daughter." But his eyes showed concern. He knew something that I refused to see. Then came the house. The down payment as a gift from the parents to the daughter. "An investment in your future," Robert called it. But his voice had already changed by then. Weaker. The cancer had already spread through him, though none of us knew yet. Emily and Jake's visits grew shorter, the calls more sporadic, always busy, always climbing, always needing more. "We're drowning in the mortgage," Emily announced 6 months after Robert's diagnosis. "We need help." And we gave it. Another check. Another sacrifice. For our daughter. Always for our daughter. Robert kept a record in a small black book. Every loan, every gift, every dollar that disappeared into Emily and Jake's lifestyle. Just in case, he'd say when I questioned him. Just so we know. The beach house was supposed to be sacred. Never sell it, Robert made me promise as he lay dying. It's more than property. It's our history, I promised, tears streaming down my face as I held his hand. Emily came to the funeral in black Prada, Jake checking his phone during the service. They stayed one night, complained about the accommodation, and left before the memorial dinner. 3 months of silence followed. No calls, no visits, nothing until today's announcement. The brown envelope contains more than documents. It contains Robert's forethought, his protection, his love extending beyond the grave. I open the first folder, property deeds. Not just of the beach house, which, according to these papers, cannot be legally sold without the signatures of both administrators, but of a dozen other properties, buildings, commercial lots, investments hidden from everyone, even from me, until now, including a familiar address. The very building where Emily and Jake live in their luxurious penthouse apartment, the building they flaunt to their friends, the exclusive address that defines their social status. Robert's letter explains everything, how he quietly amassed his wealth, how he tested our daughter year after year, hoping she would change, hoping the sense of entitlement was just a phase, how he created a safety net for me when he realized the truth about our daughter. Our daughter values things over people, Robert wrote. Maybe losing things will teach her to value people again. A second letter, in a sealed envelope marked, "After making the call." I open it with steadier hands now. Mr. Harrington will take care of the legalities, Robert writes. The sale of the beach house will be invalidated. Emily has no legal right to sell it. But do not stop there. The lesson must be complete. Outside, the rain begins to fall. I move to the window, watching the city lights blur through the droplets on the glass. How many mothers stand at windows like this, hearts broken by the children to whom they gave everything? When did loving become allowing? Asks Robert's letter. When did giving become surrendering? It's time for Emily to learn the difference between being supported and being entitled. I touch the glass. Cold, like Emily's voice on the phone. Like the space between us that has grown over the years of taking without giving back. Do you see this, Robert? I whisper. Are you with me for what comes next? A week passes. My phone remains silent. No call from Emily to share details about the move to Europe. No updates about the sale of the beach house. Nothing but silence. The kind that roars louder than any scream. Mr. Harrington calls instead. The sale has been blocked, he explains in his methodical lawyer's voice. The buyers were informed of the fraudulent nature of the transaction. Your car has been reported as stolen since Emily didn't have legal rights to sell it. And Emily? I ask, my voice smaller than I intended. She hasn't been notified yet. She will find out when the funds don't transfer. Probably tomorrow. I sit with this knowledge, this power. The ability to disrupt Emily's plans with the simple application of the truth. Is this what justice feels like? This empty victory? The phone rings at 8:17 the next morning. Emily's name flashing on the screen like a warning. What did you do? No greeting. Just an accusation, hot and sharp. I did nothing. I respond honestly. The law did what it was designed to do. Protect properties from being sold by people who don't own them. It's just a stupid beach house. Emily's voice rises, indignation pouring through the line. We needed that money for our new start. That stupid beach house is where your father wanted his ashes to be scattered, I say, my voice firm now. That stupid beach house is my home. You have an apartment. You don't even use the beach house anymore. Use. As if memories were only valuable when actively accessed. As if sacred spaces expired when left unoccupied. When are you leaving for Europe? I ask, changing the subject. A pause. The first hint of uncertainty in Emily's voice. Friday. If we can find the money elsewhere. Jake's opportunity won't wait. 5 days. The clock is ticking for the lesson Robert engineered. 5 days until the next phase begins. I hope you find what you're looking for, I say, meaning it more than Emily could understand. The line goes silent again. No goodbye. Just disconnection. Have you ever been treated as a means to an end by someone who should see you as an end in itself? Have you ever felt yourself disappear in someone else's eyes? That afternoon, I drive to the beach house. The key box is gone. Emily's doing, but but I have the original key. Inside, everything seems the same, yet different. Drawers have been opened, cabinets emptied of anything valuable. The silver picture frames, gone. Robert's father's antique clock, gone. I sit on the porch swing where Robert and I used to watch the sunset. The chains creak in the salty air, a solitary metronome counting empty moments. I'm doing this right, aren't I? I ask the ocean. I ask Robert. I ask myself. No answer comes except the steady pulse of the waves against the shore. Mr. Harrington calls again that night. They still plan to leave. Jake has been trying to get a personal loan to replace the beach house money. And the building? I ask. Everything is set. The moment they leave the country, we'll file the papers. The rent increase. The eviction notice for breaching the lease terms by subleasing on Airbnb without permission. All of it. I close my eyes. Is this cruelty? Or is it the kindness of consequence? The last gift a mother can give to a daughter who has lost her way. The days pass by. Emily doesn't call again. Social media tells the story. Cheerful posts about new beginnings, European adventures, fresh starts. No mention of the beach house money that didn't come through. No mention of me, as if a mother could be edited out when she is no longer useful. Thursday night, one day before the departure. I sit with the second envelope from Robert's package. Open when they have left. His handwriting instructs. I trace the letters with my fingertip, feeling his presence in the curve of each word. I miss you, I whisper. I miss who she used to be. The lesson has begun. Once in motion, it cannot be stopped. Like an avalanche set off by a single misstep. Emily and Jake have no idea what awaits them on the other side of their European getaway. They have no idea that fleeing is actually running toward the truth that Robert has prepared for them. Have you ever watched someone you love walk into a storm they created themselves? Did you protect them? Or let them feel the rain? Friday arrives with unexpected sunshine. I check Emily's Instagram, a selfie at the airport, Jake in the background looking at his phone. The caption reads, "Off to new adventures. New beginning, dacher no regrets, never new life." No regrets. I wonder if that's true. If Emily feels nothing about selling her mother's house, abandoning her roots, leaving without a proper goodbye. Mr. Harrington confirms their departure. Flight BA472 to Paris. They've cleared security. It's time for phase 2. I open the second envelope with steady hands. Inside, more documents. More of Robert's meticulous planning. A new will, transferring all properties exclusively to my name. Bank accounts I never knew existed. And instructions. Clear, precise, almost prophetic. They will be gone for 3 to 4 weeks, wrote Robert. Enough time to spend any money they managed to save. Enough time for Jake's opportunity to reveal itself as just another scheme. When they return, and they will return, everything will have changed. How did he know? How did Robert predict this exact scenario? Could he see the pattern so clearly while I remained blind due to maternal love? The next 3 weeks pass in a blur of activity. Mr. Harrington guides me through each step of Robert's plan. The transfer of the building's ownership. The review of tenant records. The discovery that Emily and Jake were illegally subletting their penthouse when traveling. A clear violation of their lease. Formal complaints from neighbors about parties, noise, property damage. All documented. All legal. All consequences of Emily and Jake's own actions. Are we being too harsh? I ask during a meeting. Mr. Harrington, James as I now call him, looks at me with kind eyes. Robert asked me the same question when we prepared this. Do you know what he said? I shake my head no. He said, "It isn't harsh to let reality catch up with someone who's been running from it their whole life. Reality. What Emily was shielded from by her parents' sacrifices. The natural consequences diverted by my and Robert's intervention, repeatedly. Emily's Instagram tells a different story from reality. Smiling photos in Parisian cafes, selfies against European landmarks. But the captions get shorter, the posts less frequent. The last one, a strained smile in front of the Eiffel Tower, Jake notably absent. 23 days after their departure, the message comes. Coming back early, things didn't work out. Can we stay with you while we get sorted? No explanation, no apology, just another demand disguised as a request. I respond simply, I will be here. But I do not mention the changes while waiting for Emily and Jake. The eviction notice posted on the door of the penthouse. The locks changed. The belongings moved to a storage unit. Paid for 3 months. Another of Robert's careful provisions. When do they land? James asks during our final meeting. Tomorrow afternoon. And are you prepared? This will be difficult. She will be angry. She will accuse you of terrible things. I nod, feeling a strength I did not know before. I have already been accused of terrible things. In silence, in actions, in the space between what I gave and what was taken. I am ready for the words now. That night, I return to the beach house. The new locks gleam in the porch light. Inside, I restored what was taken, replaced what was sold. The house feels alive again, waiting, watching, ready to witness. On the fireplace mantel, Robert's photograph. I touch the frame, feeling the cold glass under my fingers. Tomorrow, I say to him. Tomorrow, she learns. Have you ever stood on the edge of a necessary storm? That moment before the lightning, when the air crackles with inevitable change. I sleep in our old bedroom, surrounded by memories. For the first time since Robert's death, I dream of him. Not sick and wasting away, but strong and smiling. In the dream, he reaches out to me. Are we doing the right thing? I ask him. His dream self smiles. Limitless love is not love. It is surrender. I wake with those words echoing in my mind as the sun rises on the day of reckoning. The day Emily discovers that actions have consequences, that her mother is more than a resource to be drained, that her father was more than the doting dad she took advantage of. The day Emily discovers who really owns the building she lives in. Sometimes loving means standing firm when everything in you wants to give way. Sometimes the greatest gift is the truth that hurts. Are you ready to see what happens next? What would you do if you were me? Emily and Jake's flight lands at 2:17 p.m. I follow online, watching the small icon of the airplane touch the digital asphalt. In reality, metal meets concrete. In reality, my daughter returns not to the life she left, but to the one she conquered. I don't go to the airport. There is no welcoming committee, no mother waiting with open arms. Instead, I am sitting in the beach house, windows open to the salty air, waiting for the phone call I know will come. It arrives at 4:46 p.m., Emily's name flashing on the screen like an alarm. Someone changed our locks, she says immediately, voice tense with anger and something else, fear, perhaps. And there's an eviction notice on our door, some kind of mistake. It's not a mistake, I say, my voice calm. The building owner terminated your lease due to violations, the Airbnb rentals, the neighbors' complaints, the property damage caused by your parties. The silence stretches between us, tense like a wire about to snap. How do you know about this? Emily finally asks, suspicion creeping into her voice. I know many things now, I reply. Things your father prepared me to know. More silence. Then, we have nowhere to go. The words should pierce my heart. Once they would have. Once I would have rushed to solve this problem, to cushion this fall, to make everything better for my little girl. Where is Jake? I ask instead. A pause. We're having some problems. Of course. Robert predicted this too. The opportunity in Europe wasn't real, he wrote. It never is with men like Jake. When the money runs out, so will his charm. You can come to the beach house, I say. Just you. The beach house? But I thought, the sale was invalidated. The house was never yours to sell. Emily's breath becomes audible. Mom, you don't understand. We're in trouble. Jake borrowed money from some people. We need to pay it back. Jake's problems belong to Jake, I say, surprising myself with my firmness. You are welcome here. Alone. I can't just leave him. Can't? Or won't. There's a difference, Emily. The line goes silent, except for the sound of Emily's uneven breathing. When she speaks again, her voice has changed. Younger somehow, stripped of its polished veneer. I don't have money for a car service. I'll send one, I say. Text me when you're ready. I end the call before Emily can respond, before the maternal instinct can override Robert's careful plan, before love can become permissiveness again. Have you ever had to be strong when every part of you wanted to give in? Have you ever had to watch someone you love face the consequences of their actions when you could have prevented their pain? The car service texts at 7:28 p.m. Emily is on her way, alone. I prepare a simple meal, soup and bread, comfort food from Emily's childhood. Not the elaborate reception a prodigal daughter might expect, but sustenance, basics, a beginning. Headlights sweep the driveway at 9:16 p.m. Car doors slam, steps on the porch, hesitant, different from Emily's usual confident stride. A knock. as if she's a visitor now, as if this isn't the home where she grew up. I open the door to find a stranger. Emily's designer clothes are gone, replaced by crumpled travel attire. Her carefully maintained hair falls lifelessly around a makeup-free face, eyes red from crying, a single suitcase by her side, everything that remains of the life she built on sand. "Mom," she says, the word small and uncertain. I step aside to let her in. No hug. Not yet. The lesson isn't complete. "There's food in the kitchen," I say. "You can sleep in your old room." Emily moves through the house like a ghost, touching familiar objects as if to convince herself they are real. "Everything seems the same," she whispers. "Not everything," I respond. We eat in silence, the clock ticking loudly from the living room. Emily takes small, mechanical bites, eyes downcast. Finally, she puts the spoon aside. "Jake has been lying to me," she says to her bowl. "The job in Europe, it wasn't real. He threw away the money we had. That's why we needed to sell the beach house. And when that didn't work out," she looks up, eyes swimming in tears. "He left me there, said he found someone else who could really help him." I listen, hands folded in my lap. Let the storm come. Let it all out. "I don't understand what's happening," Emily continues, her voice rising. "Our apartment, our things. How did you know about the Airbnb? How did everything collapse all at once? The moment has come. The revelation that Robert planned. The truth that will either break our relationship forever or forge it anew. Your father left me more than memories when he died," I say softly. "He left me protection, knowledge, power that I didn't know I had." I reach for the final envelope, the one marked, "When she is ready to hear the truth." I slide it across the table. "Open it," I say. "Are you ready to see what's inside? To witness the moment when everything changes? When a daughter realizes who her mother truly is?" The clock ticks. Emily's hands tremble as she reaches for the envelope. The point of no return. The envelope rests between us like something living. Emily looks at it, hands frozen halfway across the table. "What is this?" she asks, her voice barely audible. "The truth," I respond. "About your father, about our lives, about what you've never seen, because you never looked beyond what you wanted from us." Emily withdraws her hands without touching the envelope. She isn't ready. Not yet. "I don't understand." "You'll understand," I say, standing up from the table. "When you're ready." I take our bowls to the sink, my back to my daughter. Behind me, the silence hangs heavy like a storm cloud. Then, the scraping of chair legs on the floor. Footsteps. The front door opening and closing. From the kitchen window, I watch Emily walk to the edge of the property, where sand meets grass. A solitary figure against the night sky, shoulders hunched against a wind that carries more than just ocean salt. Memory surfaces. Emily at 7, standing in that same spot, collecting shells after a storm. Emily at 13, angry after being denied permission for a party, marching to that exact place to scream her frustrations into the waves. Emily at 18, high school graduation day, posing for photos with the ocean as a backdrop, Robert beaming by her side. Emily now, alone with the consequences of choices that felt like freedom until they became chains. I wash the dishes methodically, giving my daughter time. The envelope remains on the table, patient as truth always is. An hour passes before the door opens again. Emily's face looks different, marked by tears, but calmer. She moves to the table and picks up the envelope. "I'm ready," she says, though her voice trembles. "Not here," I respond. "There's a better place." I lead Emily to Robert's study, the room that has remained untouched since his death. The leather armchair still holds the impression of his body. Books line the walls, each one read, many noted in his precise handwriting. A life of the mind preserved in paper and ink. "Sit," I say, gesturing to the chair that once belonged to the man we both loved in such different ways. Emily sinks into the leather, looking small against its bulk. In her hands, the envelope trembles like a leaf in autumn. "Before opening this," I begin, sitting in the opposite chair, "there are things you should know, things your father wanted me to tell you face to face." Emily looks up, waiting. "Your father wasn't just an engineer," I say, the words sounding strange after decades of the familiar narrative. "That was part of his life, but not all of it. Not even the most of it." I tell the story as Robert revealed it to me through his letters, how he quietly built a real estate empire, property by property. How he created a charitable foundation that helped hundreds of women escape abusive relationships. How he lived modestly by choice, not by necessity. The beach house was his first acquisition, I explain, before we got married. Everything grew from here. The properties, the investments, the foundation. This house was sacred to him, not only because of our memories, but because it represented the beginning of something significant. Emily's face changes as she listens, disbelief giving way to confusion, then to something deeper, struggle, perhaps. For the father she thought she knew, for the father she never cared to know. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asks, her voice small. "Why didn't he tell me?" "We tried," I say simply, "many times, but you never cared who we were, only what we could give you." The words fall like stones, heavy with truth. Emily winces but does not deny it. "Your father watched you become someone who valued things above people," I continue, my voice gentle despite the harshness of my words. "It broke his heart. He tried to show you another way, by example through small lessons, but in the end, he knew you would need to learn differently. Through this," Emily says, holding the envelope. "Whatever this is," I nod. "His final lesson, his final gift, for both of us." The grandfather clock in the hallway chimes 10 times, counting moments, marking time. Emily takes a deep breath and breaks the seal on the envelope. Inside, a stack of photos of properties, building after building, commercial spaces, residential towers, dozens of them. "I don't understand," Emily says, flipping through them. "These are your father's properties," I explain. "Now mine." Emily stops at a photo. Recognition dawns on her face. This is our building, where Jake and I live. "Yes. You own our building?" The question comes out strangled, between shock and accusation. "I do. Your father bought it 7 years ago when you and Jake were looking for a place. You never asked how you were approved so quickly for the penthouse. Never questioned the below-market rent." Emily stares at the photo, then at me. "The eviction. It was legal. It was justified. It was necessary. You evicted your own daughter?" "I evicted tenants who violated their lease agreement." I correct her. "I evicted a couple who showed no respect for the property that did not belong to them. That they are my daughter and son-in-law is secondary to the fact that they broke the rules they agreed to follow." Emily stands up suddenly, the photos scattering across the floor. "This is cruel. This is manipulation." "No," I say calmly. "This is consequence. This is reality without cushioning. This is what happens in the real world when you take without giving, when you break agreements, when you treat others as means to your ends." "And now?" Emily demands, arms wrapped around herself as if for protection. "You've made your point. You've humiliated me. What happens next in Daddy's grand plan?" I stand up too, facing my daughter across the battlefield of scattered photographs. "That depends on you," I say softly. "The lesson isn't over yet. Are you beginning to see, to understand what Robert foresaw? What happens when a sense of entitlement meets reality? When a daughter who took everything must learn what it means to have nothing?" The clock ticks. Choices hang in the air between mother and daughter. The path ahead is as narrow as a razor's edge. "There's more," I say, nodding towards the envelope still in Emily's hand. "Look again." Emily reaches back into the envelope with reluctant fingers. This time she pulls out a single sheet of paper, a bank statement. Her eyes widen as she registers the name on the account. Hers. The balance, 0. Below, a transaction history showing systematic withdrawals. Money transferred to offshore accounts. Liquidated investments. "Jake," she whispers. "He emptied our accounts before we left. Everything. Check the dates," I say. Emily's finger runs down the columns. "This started 6 months ago, long before the Europe plan." Her face crumbles as realization dawns. "He was planning to leave the whole time. Your father saw this coming," I say. "Jake reminded him of someone from his past. Someone who takes and takes until nothing is left, then moves on to the next source. Why didn't you warn me?" Emily's voice breaks on the question. "Would you have listened? Or would you have defended him, chosen him, turned away from the truth like you did before?" The question goes unanswered because we both know the answer. Emily sinks back into Robert's chair, the paper trembling in her hands. "I have nothing," she says, the words barely audible. "No home, no money, no husband, nothing. Now you understand," I say, my voice softening for the first time. What it's like to have your security ripped away. What it's like to be left with nothing by someone who promised to love you. Emily looks up, understanding dawning on her tear-streaked face. Like I did to you, with the beach house. I nod. The house was never just a property to me. It was the last place where I felt your father's presence. The last place where we were happy together. And you sold it without thinking. Not because you needed to, but because it was easier than facing Jake's failures. I'm sorry, Emily whispers, the words unfamiliar in her mouth. How long has it been since she apologized to her mother? Since she acknowledged causing pain rather than receiving it? Apologies are a start, I reply, but it's not enough. Not yet. I move to the bookshelf and pull out a volume. Not a book, but a disguised safe. From it, I take out another envelope. This one marked with Emily's name in Robert's handwriting. Your father left this for you, for this exact moment, when you had lost everything and might finally be ready to see. Emily takes it with trembling hands. Inside, a key, antique, heavy brass. What does it open? She asks. The basement, I reply. There's something you need to see. We move through the silent house together, down the creaky wooden stairs to a door Emily barely remembers. How many years has it been since she last went to the beach house basement? Since she thought of anything here beyond its monetary value? The key turns smoothly in the lock despite years of disuse. Inside, darkness. I reach for a light switch. The illumination reveals not the dusty storage space Emily vaguely recalls, but an office. Modern, clean, a desk with computers, files, walls covered with maps, photographs, documents. What is this? Emily asks, turning slowly to take it all in. Your father's real work, I explain. The foundation. William's Women's Sanctuary. He started it 20 years ago after your sister, your Aunt Rebecca, was killed by her abusive husband. Aunt Rebecca? But you told me she died in a car accident. This was the public story. The truth was too painful, too shameful for her father to share widely. Her sister suffered financial abuse, physical abuse, and was ultimately murdered. He couldn't save her, so he made it his life's work to save others. Emily moves to the table, touching papers, photographs. Faces of women look back at her, smiling, survivors. Children too, holding toys in front of small houses. All these years, she whispers. I had no idea. You never asked, I say simply. Never wondered where your father went on his business trips. Never questioned why he cared so much about domestic violence legislation. Never saw beyond what you wanted from him. Emily sinks into the chair at the table, overwhelmed. Why show me this now? Because it's yours, I say. If you want it. Emily's head snaps up sharply. What? Your father left the foundation to you, in trust. To be released when you demonstrated you were ready for the responsibility. When you understood the difference between taking and giving. I hand Emily another document. A trust agreement. Complex legal language that boils down to a simple truth. Emily is the heir not just to the wealth, but to the purpose. A legacy of helping women rebuild lives shattered by men who took everything from them. I don't understand, Emily says. After everything I did, he still entrusted this to me? He waited, I correct her. He waited for the time when everything was stripped away. The sense of entitlement, the materialism, the false security. His daughter would remember the values he tried to teach her, that she would choose a different path. Emily stares at the document, then at the faces of the women on the wall. These women, they lost everything too. Yes, but they rebuilt. They discovered their strength. They found their worth beyond what was taken from them. For the first time, something changes in Emily's expression. Something beyond self-pity or shock. A spark of, what? Understanding? Purpose? The beach house, she says slowly. It was never about the property's value. No, I confirm. It was about sanctuary, safe haven, for us and for the women your father helped. Emily stands from the chair, moving to a large map on the wall. Pins mark locations across the country. Safe houses, support centers, transitional homes. One pin is placed directly over the beach house. This would be the next sanctuary site, I explain. Your father was planning the conversion when he fell ill. 10 units for women and children escaping dangerous situations. By the ocean, where healing begins. Emily traces the outline of the house on the blueprints fixed beside the map. And I almost sold it to developers who would have demolished it to build condominiums. Yes, the weight of that almost action hangs between us. The legacy nearly destroyed by neglect, by a sense of entitlement, by never looking beyond immediate desires for a deeper purpose. What happens now? Emily asks, her voice steadier. What's next in my father's plan? That depends on you, I say, on what you choose to become. The morning arrives with gentle persistence, sunlight filtering through the beach house windows. Emily sits on the porch, wrapped in an old quilt, watching the ocean. She hasn't slept. How could she, with revelations crashing into her mind like waves on the shore? I join her, 2 mugs of coffee in my hands. We sit in silence, the space between us different now, not yet warm, but no longer frozen. I keep thinking about something Dad used to say, Emily finally says. Privilege is not what you're given. It's what you do with what you're given. She turns to me. I never understood what he meant. I thought he was talking about money, success. I thought I was doing exactly what he wanted. Achieving, acquiring, climbing. Your father measured success differently, I say, sipping my coffee. By lives transformed, by dignity restored, by purpose fulfilled. I got it all wrong, Emily whispers. All these years, all these opportunities. Wasted. Not wasted, I correct her. Lessons. Costly maybe, but not wasted if you learn from them now. Emily nods slowly, then pulls out her phone from her pocket. The screen is cracked, a perfect metaphor for her shattered reality. She opens Instagram, scrolls through her feed. Images of a life built on appearances, on things, on status symbols now revealed as empty. With deliberate movements, she deletes the app. Then Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. One by one, the digital facades disappear. This is just symbolic, she acknowledges. It doesn't fix anything. It's a start, I say, recognizing the difference between image and substance. We fall silent again, watching a pair of sandpipers running along the water's edge. Eventually, Emily speaks, her voice stronger. I want to see the foundation's finances. The operational structure, how everything works. I raise an eyebrow. Why? Because if I'm going to take on this responsibility, I need to understand it first. Really understand it. Not just take it because it's offered. A smile touches my lips. The first real smile since this started. That sounds like something your father would say. I am his daughter, Emily says softly. I just forgot that for a while. We spent the morning in Robert's basement office. Emily asks questions. Real questions. Maybe for the first time in her adult life. About the structure of the foundation. About the women it serves. About the challenges and victories. I show her the files, the budgets, the success stories. I explain how Robert built something meaningful while maintaining the appearance of a simple engineer's life. Why the secrecy? Emily asks. Why didn't he want people to know about his wealth, his work? Privacy served the mission, I explain. The women needed anonymity. The foundation needed to operate without drawing the attention of the abusers the women were escaping from. And your father, I pause. He believed that true character is revealed when no one is watching, when there's no external reward. Emily absorbs this, turning it in her mind like a stone worn smooth by water. He was watching me, she says eventually, waiting to see what I would do with no audience, who I would become when no one was clapping. Yes, and I failed the test. You failed many tests, I acknowledge, but the final exam is still in progress. In the afternoon, I take Emily to meet Sarah, the director of the foundation, a formidable woman with silver hair and eyes that have seen too much suffering to waste time on pleasantries. So you're Robert's daughter, she says, sizing Emily up with her gaze. He talked about you often. He did, Emily asks, surprised. He worried about you, Sarah says frankly. Worried that you would never find purpose beyond possessions, that you would waste your life chasing things instead of meaning. The words hurt, but Emily doesn't shrink back. He was right to worry. Sarah nods, approval flickering in her eyes at this honesty. Well, you're here now. That's something. She shows us the current projects. 3 safe houses being renovated, a legal assistance program, a vocational training center. She explains the challenges. Funding always tight, needs always greater than resources. Balancing safety with accessibility. Throughout the tour, Emily listens. Really listens. With an intensity I haven't seen in her since childhood. She takes notes. Asks perceptive questions. Sees the women, not as charity cases, but as human beings rebuilding shattered lives with a courage I suspect Emily is only beginning to understand. At the end of the day, we return to the beach house. Emily is quieter now, thoughtful. "There's one more thing to show you," I say. In Robert's office, I unlock the bottom drawer of his desk. Inside is a leather-bound journal, Emily's name stamped on the cover in gold. "He kept this since the day you were born," I explain. "Every hope he had for you, every disappointment, every dream." Emily takes it with reverent hands. "I'm afraid to read it," she admits. "Afraid to see myself through his eyes. The truth is hard," I say, "but necessary, like this whole process has been." Emily traces the letters of her name on the journal's cover. "Did you know? All these years, did you know what he was planning? This lesson?" I shake my head no. I knew parts, not the whole. He revealed it to me through the envelopes, through Mr. Harrington. I think he knew I might not have the strength to go through with it otherwise. "Because you love me," Emily says softly. "Because you would have protected me from the consequences." Again, yes. Emily meets my eyes directly. "Thank you for being strong enough to let me fall, for loving me enough to let me face the truth." The words build something between us. Not healing yet, but the beginning of a path towards it. "I will need time," Emily says, holding the journal, "to read this, to really understand who he was, who you are, who I was and who I might become. Time is the only thing we both have now," I reply. "The only thing money can't buy." When night falls, we sit together on the porch swing, the journal between us, the ocean in front of us, and the future, uncertain but somehow clearer, waiting to be written. A month passes. The beach house undergoes transformation, not into the luxury condos Emily once imagined, but into the sanctuary Robert planned. Construction crews arrive daily, converting the upper floors into separate living units while maintaining the historic facade. Emily oversees everything. The designer clothes and carefully maintained appearance are gone. She works alongside the contractors in jeans and a t-shirt, hair tied back, hands calloused from the unexpected labor. "You don't have to do the physical work," I tell her one night as Emily dips bruised fingers into ice water. "The foundation can hire people for that. I need to do this," Emily responds simply. "I need to build something real. With these hands that have taken so much and given so little." She read Robert's journal cover to cover, twice. The pages now dog-eared, passages underlined, margins filled with her own notes, a conversation with her father continuing beyond his death. The penthouse remains empty. Emily's belongings still in storage, untouched. She hasn't asked about them, hasn't tried to reclaim the life she left behind. Instead, she sleeps in her childhood room, wakes with the sunrise, works until exhaustion demands rest. Jake calls once. Emily listens silently to his explanations, his apologies. When he finishes, she says only, "Now I understand what you are," and hangs up. I watch my daughter's transformation with cautious hope. Is it genuine? Will it last beyond the shock of revelation, beyond the initial excitement of newfound purpose? Or will the sense of entitlement reappear when the sting of the lesson fades? The answer begins to emerge in small moments. Emily bringing coffee to the construction workers before they even ask. Emily sitting with Sarah for hours, learning the operations of the foundation not as a future figurehead, but as a student of its mission. Emily in the garden, hands in the soil, planting flowers along the pathway where future residents will walk. "I've been thinking about the other properties," she says one evening, as we review plans at the kitchen table. "The ones Dad acquired, the ones I never knew about." I look up. What about them? Some could be converted, like this one. More sanctuaries in more cities. Women need safe places everywhere, not just here. That would require considerable resources, I point out, and expertise we might not have. Emily nods thoughtfully. "I've been talking with Sarah about sustainable expansion models. We would need partners, local organizations, community support, but it's possible." I study my daughter's face, now animated with purpose instead of acquisition. Is this real? This change? This awakening? "You're thinking long-term," I observe. "I'm thinking beyond myself," Emily corrects me, for the first time. 2 weeks later, Sarah brings a woman to the beach house. "Maria," she introduces her. No last name. Many of the foundation's clients use only first names, abandoning last names that connect them to abusers. Maria carries a small child, a girl of maybe 3 years old, sleeping on her shoulder. They need emergency placement, Sarah explains quietly. Their previous housing fell through. The renovations aren't complete, but we'll make space, Emily says immediately, already moving towards her own room. They can have my room. I'll use the couch. That night, Emily sleeps on the living room couch while Maria and her daughter occupy the room upstairs. I find my daughter awake at midnight, staring at the ceiling. Are you okay? I ask. She flinches when doors close too loudly, Emily says. Maria. And she constantly apologizes for taking up space, for needing help, for existing. Her daughter barely speaks. I sit down beside her. That's common, with survivors. I keep thinking, Emily continues, her voice tight with emotion, about everything I had, everything I took for granted, everything I complained about, while women like Maria were just trying to stay alive. Different circumstances shape different lives, I say softly. The question is what you do with that awareness now. Emily sits up, pulling her knees to her chest. I want to use the penthouse, she says, as transitional housing. It's empty, and it has security, doormen, safety resources. A woman and her children could rebuild there while they find permanent housing. I study my daughter's face in the dim light. Are you sure? That was your home? Emily shakes her head. It was never home. It was a display case, a status symbol. It should be something meaningful now. The next day, we meet with Mr. Harrington, James, as we both call him now, to discuss the legal requirements to convert the penthouse into transitional housing. Emily takes notes, asks questions, explores implications with a thoroughness that painfully reminds me of Robert. Your father would be proud, James tells Emily as we conclude. This is exactly what he hoped would happen. Emily's eyes fill with tears, but she holds them back. I wish I had known him, she says softly. The real him, not just the parts I was willing to see. You are getting to know him now, I say, through his work, through his legacy. That evening, as the sunset paints the ocean gold, Emily and I sit on the beach. Maria's daughter plays nearby, building sandcastles with concentrated determination, her mother watching from a blanket spread out on the sand. I've been thinking about what to call this place, Emily says, gesturing toward the house behind us. When it's ready, when it's serving its true purpose. And, I encourage, Robert's Haven, Emily suggests, because that's what it is, what he created, a safe harbor from the storm. I feel tears prick my eyes. He would have liked that. We sit in companionable silence, watching the child play, the waves advance and retreat, the day slowly surrendering to the night. So much lost, so much gained, a family broken and remade around truth instead of convenience. Mom, Emily says eventually, her voice hesitant. Thank you, for being strong enough to open up to me, for loving me enough to let me feel the consequences. I reach for my daughter's hand. Find it. Hold it. I almost wasn't, I admit. I almost couldn't stand to see you suffer even when the suffering was necessary, even when it was the only path to healing. That's what real love is, isn't it? Emily asks. Not protection from pain, but presence through it. Not shielding, but support. Yes, I say simply. That's exactly what it is. Above us, stars begin to appear as darkness takes the sky. Below, the foundation of something new takes root, not just in the beach house transforming behind us, but in the space between mother and daughter, in the legacy of a man who loved them both enough to orchestrate his final lesson from beyond the grave. Sometimes, the greatest inheritance is not what is given, but what is demanded. Sometimes the deepest love is not what protects, but what challenges. Sometimes, the truest family is not the one you are born into, but the one you build from the ashes of what burns down. Have you ever lost everything, only to discover that what matters most was waiting to be found? 6 months later, I am on the edge of the crowd gathered for the inauguration of Robert's Harbor. The beach house, now transformed into something greater than itself, glistens under the spring sun. Blue ribbons flutter on the balcony railings. Women move throughout the gathering, some in business attire, members of the foundation's board and donors, others in simpler clothes, survivors whose lives have been touched by Robert's vision, by the sanctuary he created. Emily is on the steps, clipboard in hand, directing volunteers, answering questions, moving with the quiet confidence of purpose rather than privilege. Her hair is shorter now, her face tanned from months of outdoor work. No makeup, no brand name marks, no carefully crafted image. Just a woman who has found her calling in continuing her father's legacy. 3 families have already moved into completed units. Maria and her daughter, now enrolled in preschool, now speaking in full sentences, now building sandcastles without constantly looking over their shoulders, will be the 4th when their apartment is ready next week. The penthouse has already housed 2 transition families. The first, a mother with teenage children, has moved on to permanent housing and stable employment. The second, a woman in her 50s escaping 30 years of financial abuse, is finishing her certification as a paralegal, determined to help others navigate the legal system she once found so overwhelming. Jake sent divorce papers from California. Emily signed them without comment, without emotion. That chapter closed with no drama or regret. I move through the crowd toward my daughter, watching as Emily kneels to speak eye to eye with a small child holding a stuffed rabbit. The kindness on her face, the genuine interest in her expression, these are not performances for an audience. They are reflections of something authentic finally having space to grow. Mrs. Williams, a woman lightly touches my arm. I just wanted to say thank you. To you and your husband. I stayed in one of your properties in Chicago 2 years ago. It saved my life, the lives of my children. I take the offered hand of the woman. I'm glad we could help. Your daughter looks just like him, the woman continues, nodding toward Emily. The same quiet strength, the same way of truly seeing people. Yes, I agree, emotion tightening my throat. She is her father's daughter. As the woman moves on, I continue towards Emily, who has finished her conversation with the child and is now checking items on her clipboard. So focused, so present, so different from the woman who sold her mother's beach house without a second thought. Everything on schedule? I ask, coming up beside her. Emily looks up, smiles, a true smile that reaches her eyes. As much as these things ever are. The vendors are late, the mayor is sending a representative instead of coming himself, and the photographer's camera lens broke. But the families are here. The sanctuary is open, and that's what matters. I nod toward the ocean, where Maria's daughter is building her daily sandcastle, her mother watching from a bench. They are what matters. Yes, Emily agrees, following my gaze. They are why we do this, why Dad did this, why I finally understand what wealth is truly for. We are together, mother and daughter, watching the child play, the waves advance and retreat, the endless cycle of destruction and creation that defines the coast. So much lost in recent months, so much found. A family broken and remade around truth rather than illusion. I've been thinking, Emily says, placing the clipboard under her arm, about the foundation's future, about expansion. And, I encourage, we have the resources to open 3 more sanctuaries this year, properties that Dad already owned that can be converted. I've been working with Sarah on the operational models, with James on the legal structure. It's ambitious, but possible. Your father would approve, I say. He always thought bigger than anyone realized. Emily turns to face me completely. I need your help, she says simply. Your wisdom, your experience, your partnership in this. The words warm me like the sun after a long winter. Not because my daughter needs me. Emily has always needed me, whether she acknowledged it or not, but because she is asking, recognizing, inviting, rather than assuming. Of course, I say. Always. The ceremony begins. Speeches are made. Ribbons are cut. Photos are taken for the foundation's private records. Never for public consumption, never for recognition. Always respecting the privacy that security demands. As the crowd disperses towards the tables set up for lunch, Emily and I find ourselves alone for a moment on the veranda of Roberts Harbor. The brass plaque next to the door catches the sunlight. Safe Harbor from Life Storms, Esther 2024, in memory of Robert Williams. Do you think he knows? Emily asks, touching the plaque softly. Dad, do you think he sees what happened? What we've built from his lesson? I think about Robert's brown envelope, his meticulous planning, his hope that his daughter would finally understand what mattered. Yes, I say simply. I think he knows. The night finds us on the beach, shoes discarded, toes in the sand. The meeting is over. The suppliers have left. The the new residents settling into spaces that will shelter them as they rebuild lives shattered by those who should have loved them. I've been thinking about Jake, Emily says suddenly. Not missing him, she quickly clarifies, but wondering if I need to forgive him. I consider this. Forgiveness isn't about the other person, I eventually say. It's about releasing yourself from carrying their debts. You don't forgive Jake for his sake. You forgive him for yours, when and if you are ready. Emily nods, absorbing this. I think I'm getting there. Not because he deserves it, but because I don't want to carry this weight anymore. She pauses. Just as you forgave me. Not because I deserved it, but because love is stronger than pain. Exactly, I say softly. We watch the waves together as darkness settles around us. Mother and daughter, teacher and student. Two women transformed by necessary pain into something stronger, something truer than they were before. Have you ever experienced that moment of clarity? When loss reveals what really matters. When material things fall away to reveal purpose. When what seemed like the end becomes the beginning of something much more meaningful. Maybe you have been Antonia, watching someone you love choose the wrong path, hurting as you allow necessary consequences. Maybe you have been Emily, losing everything only to discover that what truly matters was never about possessions. Or maybe you are still waiting for your own awakening. Still accumulating things that won't last, still valuing status over substance, still missing the deeper purpose that waits to be discovered. Wherever you are on your journey, remember, sometimes what seems like loss is actually liberation. Sometimes what seems like punishment is actually the path to purpose. Sometimes the greatest inheritance is not what is given, but what is demanded of you. If this story has touched something in you, some recognition, some truth, some possibility, leave a comment with a single word that captures what it awakened. Sometimes naming the feeling is the first step to embracing the change it asks for. And if you know someone struggling with similar questions of purpose versus possession, of substance versus status, share this with them. Not as judgment, but as an invitation. An invitation to discover what truly matters before life delivers its own harsh lessons. Subscribe if stories like this, stories of family, transformation, finding meaning in unexpected places, speak to the questions in your own heart, because there are more stories waiting to be told, more lessons waiting to be learned, more transformations waiting to be witnessed. This is just the beginning. What word will you leave in the comments? What awakening is waiting for you?